Hello and welcome to another episode of the DTF podcast here on the Field of 68. My name is Rob Doster. I have Terrence Oglesby with me. I have John Fanta with me, and I don't know if we're living in a simulation, guys, or if we are living in a world where heat no longer exists. I have my BetMGM Scully on right now because here in New Jersey, it is literally in the single digits, and the wind chill has a negative in front of it. T.O. is in Utah right now, where let's just put it like this. T.O.'s not built for the cold in Logan, Utah. He's built for the warmth of the deep south. And
Dude, it's cold. It's cold in the south.
Yeah, well, Fanta, you're what, 100 miles north of me right now? So I don't even know what you're dealing with.
Very cold here. Very cold here.
Yeah.
It's that time of year now. I mean, the frigid air, the heart of conference play. Stay inside and watch basketball. That's the time of year it is right now, and wherever you are. So we're like the dog days of the summer. We're in the opposite of that in college basketball, where this is what keeps you warm. It's like a bunch of people up here in the Northeast will say to guys like Dan Hurley and Kim English and whoever the Northeast coaches are up here, like, basketball is what gets you through the winter. But right now, it's all over the country. That's right. It's all over the country right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's the coldest. It's the coldest I've been in years. Literally, it's the coldest I've been in years.
The worst part about cold like this is, I don't know about you, it's impossible for me to get warm. And like if you go out, I had to walk the dog this morning, right? I walked the dog around the block. It was like 25 minutes. If I don't get the dog outside, like, you guys have heard him barking on the show before. He'll just sit outside that door. Anything that goes by, yap, 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 yap. You take him for a walk in the morning, he'll sleep for the next 4 hours. So I do this for my own sanity. And I come back in and I'm still cold. And I've been inside for 2 hours and I have the heat on. And I promise you, I can afford heat and I can afford windows that keep heat in. I just can't get warm. I just can't keep warm. I hate it, man. I'm not built for it.
It's so cold. It's crazy. My legs, I try to put lotion on I feel like a reptile. And I'm just like, it's just freaking freezing. It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah, the worst part for you,
hoops have been really good.
You don't have the insulation up here to kind of help yourself out. How many times do you think I can get away with making bald jokes about you before you come and actually beat my ass?
It's an evergreen trip, the bald jokes. It's evergreen.
All right. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the top of the Big East because I think that it's really interesting. And the biggest result from last night, all due respect to Tennessee, who may actually be back to you. I might pick your brain on that here at the end of the show. But I think the biggest result was Purdue taking a loss at home in Mackey Arena in a building that I said was the toughest home environment in college basketball right now. So we're going to talk about that here in a little bit as well. But I got to lead things off with your ACC, TO, and I got to lead things off with the North Carolina Tar Heels, who are now 12-8 on the season. They are 1-7 in quad 1 games. They do have 4 quad 2 wins, but they also have a quad 3 loss that they took at home to Stanford. They go on the road last night and lose 67-66 to a Wake Forest team that is in a similar kind of bubbly situation. Tio, I know you watched that game. I know you know the ACC as well as anybody. You're going to be on the ACC network here doing some studio stuff. You did some games. So you're always going to be our Mountain West guy, and you are an honorary member of the Big East Mafia. But in your heart of hearts, you belong to the ACC, and we can all accept that. So talk to me about Carolina, about Wake Forest, about that game, and I feel like they're in a bad spot, Tar Heels, man.
I'm a huge Big East guy, massive Mountain West guy, an all-time ACC guy. So I'm just coming up with different slogans for every conference. I'm going to Southern SEC guy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to keep coming up with these things and hashtagging everything I can find. Guys, I was up and down. At the beginning of the season, I was like, I think Carolina's going to be fun to watch. And they have been fun to watch. It's been fun. Hadn't resulted in a lot of wins, but it's been fun to watch because they're streaky. They have times where they shoot the ball. They have these electric plays like Ian Jackson dunking all over Wake Forest yesterday. Woo! They have these plays and these spurts that's just so much fun to watch and be a part of. They're just so small. They're just so small. And there's nothing that they can do about it this season. makes it hard. They missed out on some centers. I saw Theo Pinson and Goodman get in a little bit of a tiff on Twitter. He's like, how could you see this game and think it's the coach's fault? Well, the coach put the players on the team. So it is a coach's fault. But, they struck out on a couple of guys. It kind of is what it is. And they're like, you know what? We'll be able to put enough rim pressure on because we have the quickest guards in the country. And they do have some really quick guards. Just hasn't worked out the way everybody planned. I will say Wake Forest, that was a game they needed to win, because I'm not saying it would have been a bad loss, but it's sneaking up on one, because if Carolina keeps trending in the same direction, they're going to be in that quad 2, quad 3 conversation. I never thought I would say that at the beginning of the year. I thought North Carolina would be a tournament team. I didn't think they'd be great, but I thought they'd be a tournament team. Now they're firmly and squarely on that bubble, with really only one non-conference win to show for it in UCLA, and UCLA hasn't set the world on fire. So it's a very interesting thing in North Carolina. Good for Wake Forest for getting that. They're creeping into the should be in the tournament category. But Carolina, as that's happening with Wake Forest, Carolina is trending the other direction. So I think the conference gets 5 in. I think, those 5 are going to interchange right at that 4, 5, 6, 7 mark.
Mm-hmm. Fanta?
Well, the difference in what North Carolina thought they would be and what they really are lies in a game like last night, where North Carolina only goes to the free throw line a total of 10 times.
Yeah.
And Wake Forest goes 27 times. And don't tell me Wake got a good whistle, because I watched the game. I actually thought there were a couple instances in the last 5 minutes that they could have even gotten 1 or 2 more whistles on some contact at the rim. I want to credit Steve Forbes. He went with a 1-3-1 zone late. That is a terrific job of coaching. Right.
Great call, Fanta.
I thought that was just a great wrinkle in the game plan, and it threw North Carolina off. And if you want to say, well, last night's not on the coaching, explain this to me. You have one of the best bucket getters in the country in R.J. Davis. You have Seth Trimble, who I know can score. And you've got enough. You've got enough different guys who can get you a bucket. And they went over 5 minutes at one point in the second half without scoring a bucket. Here's the crazy thing about that. They ended up taking the lead. They were down by 10 and took the lead in this game. When in the second half, they went over 5 minutes on the road against one of the better teams in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and you still can't find a way to win. And you can't find a way to win because if you watch the last 3 minutes of the game, look at which team managed the game better. It was Wake Forest. How? They created dribble penetration. They moved the basketball, and they hung on to the ball. Yeah. And they got enough contributions last night. I thought late, Efton Reed hit some huge free throws. Stepped up at the line and made some big free throws. Cam Hildreth, took him 16 shots, but he didn't. Guys, Cam Hildreth did not leave the floor. He played.
No, they didn't sub. Hey, Fanta, they didn't sub once in the second half. Yeah, he played 5 dudes the entire second half.
Well, that's a coach in Steve Forbes who knew that he had to win that ball game. And, it speaks volumes to me because his team shot 2 for 15 from 3, and they found a way to win the game. Yeah. So it's a game that Wake needed to win. Am I convinced on Wake yet fully? Well, no, because 13 of their 15 wins are in quad 3 and 4. So they have more work to be done. They've got a big one coming up against Louisville. So
the next 3 are huge, Fanta.
Huge. They got to capitalize on this upcoming swing. But for North Carolina, this is not an NCAA tournament team. It's not. I don't think that they're going to make the NCAA tournament.
I don't know if they will. I think that this loss for them is worse than it looks because Wake Forest had some real struggles finding ways to get going early in the season. And what I mean by that is they only beat Coppin State by 15. They only beat USC Upstate by 5. They only beat Western Carolina by 13. They only beat Detroit.
This is the problem with the net.
I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily a problem because
it is a problem. They won the game.
Yeah, I know, but trust me, when we had just the RPI, people were complaining about why are we valuing a 2-point win as a 30-point win? Like how you beat a team should be factored in because when you have 362 teams and such a variance in the quality, I do believe that winning in blowout fashion and winning at the buzzer against the same team are two very different performances, and I believe that should be some of that. I also don't think that it should be as much of an impact as you end up seeing, right? I think that there's a way to be able to have more of an impact on the actual result than just having it be something where you run up the score. Does that make sense? Like, I think that you should get more.
We don't know the impact of the net in the room. I mean, we know it has an impact, but we don't know the degree of the impact, and their unwillingness to share it and be transparent about it is a bit problematic here for every.
And I agree with all that. Like, I don't want to. Yeah,
it's not a problem. Here's why.
Well, hold on. Let me finish.
Hold on, Nostr.
4 of the last 6 North Carolina games have been decided by 2 points or less. Mm-hmm. So, like, it's a little bit of it doesn't matter who the opponent is. All these teams are playing, they're going down to the wire. When are they going to kick the crap out of somebody and make a statement?
I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. What the point that I was making is that I think that the reason this is a bigger issue for Carolina is twofold. One, they lost to all of their good opponents, right? Their entire resume was, we don't have any bad losses, right? We don't have many great wins, but we don't have any bad losses. Then you lose to Stanford at home, which goes as a quad 3 loss, and frankly, that's a bad loss. And now you go on the road to Wake Forest, who, like, let's be honest, Wake Forest is like the way they're playing right now, top 30, top 35 team in America. Like, they figured out Hunter Salas, they got Tyler Johnson playing pretty well. They've put this thing together, but you're not going to see it in their metrics because of the way that they started the season and the fact they didn't beat the brakes off of these teams. So this loss looks worse on a resume for North Carolina than it is. They go on the road and they lose by 1 to an in-state rival that's playing great basketball and happens to be 7-1 in their conference. Like, on no planet will anybody ever consider that like a bad loss. You lost on the road to a team in second place in your league, one of the hottest teams in the country. It is what it is. But the fact that Wake Forest did not handle business in the non-conference the way that would have helped them more in the net makes this look worse than it is.
You want to talk about a team, though, that like Wake Forest, who, guys, they're 15-4 and they're 7-1 in league.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's not a bad loss.
It's a good team, but like no bad losses, no great wins. But this is where the net thing, I'm just like, Jesus, like, what are we doing? Like, you getting punished for only beating Coppin State by 15 in the first game of the season? You're getting punished for beating Detroit Mercy by 10. Like, they beat them. Like, you're still figuring out things. This is where the argument for the net just loses me. It's incredible, really. So now they still have work to be done. But if you look at their losses, like Xavier, when Xavier was playing really well, Florida lost by 7. Florida's one of the best teams in the country. Texas A&M, really good. You lose by 13 at their place. Is that really a terrible loss? I would argue no.
No,
so they don't have a bad loss, and they beat Michigan.
Clemson.
Like, this is a good team
at Clemson. It's a good team, and here's the thing about Wake Forest: like, they'll beat it. They'll win a game in the tournament if they get in, because like they're playing. Look at their backcourt. Cam Hildreth has had some great games. He's had 30 plus in a couple of them. Hunter Salas is really good. Now, I will say I've caught a lot of flack from Wake Forest people, and let me just say this, and I'm going to say this whenever I get in studio. Everybody's like, well, you hate Wake Forest. I hate all of you equally. Conversely, I love all of you equally, but I hate all of you equally. There's no more hate with one team than there is another. I hate all of you. So there's that. But like Hunter Salas, what happened in North Carolina?
Jared Soglesby, equal opportunity hater.
That'll definitely get him back in the ACC Network studio.
Yeah, I'm going to say it too. I hate everybody the same. Here's the deal. But like, they were able to get into the paint. Hunter Salas could have a game in the tournament where he scores 25, 30. He scores over the top. He's big. They didn't take a lot of threes against Carolina because those two guards just bully balled their way over North Carolina's smaller guards. Now, the next stretch of games, Duke at home. If you get that one, everybody shut up.
Yep.
Everybody shut up. They get that one, they're firmly in. You look at that next game after that at Louisville, there's an opportunity. Pitt at home, still a really good opportunity. So it's like these next 3 games, massive for Wake Forest. I think they're a tournament
it's
team.
more than that.
If they go 2-1, they're a tournament team.
Yeah, but it's more than that, because if you look at the next 4 games they have after that, after Pitt at home, they have to go on the road to the West Coast. You play at Stanford, at Cal. You come back from Cal. We talked to Steve on Monday. They're not chartering that night. They're not taking a red eye.
Smart.
They're flying commercial, and they're flying back on Sunday morning. But since it's a Sunday, you have to take a day off on the Monday, right? So they're flying back on Sunday morning. They're practicing Sunday night. They're taking Monday off because travel days cannot be days off. So they're taking Monday off, and then they're going to have a full practice on Tuesday. Then you get Florida State at home, which is not an easy prep, T.O. You can attest to that. And then after that, you got to go on the road again, get on another flight, go to the Central Time Zone, and go play SMU on the road. So, like, they have, I think, one of the hardest stretches for anybody in college basketball when you factor in who they're playing, the importance of it for their season, and some of the travel.
Hey, here's the crazy part about that, and I know we're going to get off topic on this one, but like, you want to talk about how football screwed up everything.
Yep.
Like, think about this: they're traveling back. What are the kids going to go to class?
Like,
that's
a big problem. Like, Wake Forest has no online classes. Stanford has no online classes.
When are they going to go to class? It's insanity. Like, it's ridiculous. It needs to be fixed for everybody else. For football, do what the hell you want. Nobody cares. But like for basketball, you need to get a little bit more regional, because this is insane. We have a big freaking country. Like, if we lived in Spain or something, you could jump on an hour-and-a-half flight, no big deal. Our country's freaking huge, and the people at the Big Ten, the ACC, well, we'll just figure it out and let these kids, do home and homes with
Look at
California.
the Big 12. Arizona State was at West Virginia and won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they go to Central Florida,
won.
And Central Florida goes to Arizona State.
Yeah.
It's insane. What are we doing?
Right. Guys,
common sense has not prevailed. Common sense has not prevailed.
Adrian Gwen asks, have they talked about Louisville yet? So I'm giving the floor to you guys. Everyone knows how I feel about, I'm going to say it, my Louisville Cardinals. Okay? My Louisville Cardinals.
Hey, Fanta. Rob can be bought. Rob Doster can be bought.
Sure can.
I will say this. I played into that a little bit, but I will be honest. Like, all of the takes that I had about Louisville at the start of the season, in the preseason, like, that wasn't.
We called them. It wasn't bullshit.
That wasn't a fabrication. Like, we saw them. That wasn't me just saying like, oh, I broadcasted these Louisville games. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be nice. Yeah, you did cause this. Well, we'll tell that story another time. But like, I'll none of what I said was just, oh, you know what, we called these games, I'm going to be nice to Louisville. Like, this is how good both of us thought they could be when we saw them in July. And I'm just glad that, like, now they've gotten through some of these injuries, they're starting to figure it out. So I'm going to let you guys have the floor on this one. Fanta, then you go, T.O., and then we can move on from the ACC. But what has Louisville been in your mind over the course of the last month?
Well, I come at this from a bit of a different vantage point. So 2 years ago, I jumped into doing CAA games on Mondays and Thursdays, and Charleston was having a historic season.
Yeah.
So you hear about it, and then you actually go down there, and you watch them practice. And I'm watching them practice, and I'm thinking to myself, this team's better than a lot of the high major teams I've watched all year. And this is actually a problem in our sport a little bit. And I don't know how we solve it, because I don't think there's one solution. But they had won 18, 19 games in a row. And everyone's like, yeah, but they're not a tournament team. Like, from an at-large perspective, if they lose the final, they won't make the tournament. If they lost the CAA final, they weren't going to make it. Their metrics just weren't good enough because of the league they were in. And that's where, if we do ever expand, I almost want like a golden spot in the tournament to just give that team an actual chance to prove themselves. I think that's fun for us. I think it's fun for the sport. Anyways, Pat Kelsey, when he brings his kids over from Charleston, if there's anybody out there who was thinking, well, can they handle the ACC? They were playing like an ACC team at his previous stop. And now you're watching that. His team plays an electric style of basketball. They have instantly restored Louisville to a level that I don't think anybody, you might have thought was possible, but you didn't know what it would look like until it happened. This has to be heaven for Louisville fans, even more so than Kentucky fans. Yeah, Kentucky fans, I know you're enjoying life right now, but it's not like you were totally unenjoying life last year around this time. For Louisville fans, you've been in a pit of darkness. Rain Smith is a hooper. That kid's a leader. He has an evergreen light. That's what I love about this. That's what I love about the Louisville system. If I'm a player, I want to play at Louisville because I get to go and play, and my coach doesn't have puppeteering devices trying to tell me what to do. He lets his kids go out there instinctively and play, and they launch 42 threes in the game. And Terrence Edwards Jr. shoots 2 for 13. It doesn't matter because James Scott was fantastic. Javon Hadley did his part, had 7 rebounds in this game. Connie Ruths had 7 rebounds in this game, gave him 12 points off the bench in 18 minutes. And remember, we're talking about multiple season-ending injuries for this team. The case in Pryor, 4 of them to be exact. I mean, this could have gone south, and it could have been justifiable when you go through 4 injuries of impact, and it hasn't. In fact, this team is proving that they're one of the best 20 teams in the country. They're playing as well as anybody right now, and for them to be 8-1 in this league is extremely impressive. The only loss is to Duke. That's it, and there's no shame in that. I'm so impressed. I thought they'd be a solid team. They're playing great basketball right now. And when Chucky Hepburn has 16 assists in a game, I mean, that is absolutely unbelievable, Terrence Oglesby. That's a testament to a player who found out new things about his game that he didn't previously know at Wisconsin because they play a different way than Pat Kelsey. Pat Kelsey's getting the best out of Chucky Hepburn.
They took the restrictor plate off of Chucky Hepburn and the car went wild. That's what happened. They took the restrictor plate off of Chucky Hepburn, and this Ferrari is flying. Wow. So, it's unbelievable. The 16 assists program record. Rain Smith, 10 threes, program record. And I love the way Rain plays. It's a little bit if you have some really speedy guards that can get up the floor quick, and you just kind of lurk behind that initial action in the fast break situation, you can find some shots. And I used to love to do that. It was my favorite way to find it because you walk right into them. And when they get into the half court, Pat can get creative. But the most intriguing thing about this Louisville team is they just get to the next right option as fast as anybody I've ever seen. And we talked about it down when we did the Bahamas thing, Rob. Mm-hmm. They have older, smarter players, and they can adapt quickly. Now, you look at their season and what happened. Tennessee was a bad schedule. Whoever the hell scheduled Tennessee on game 2, that's tough. You never scheduled Tennessee within the first 10 games of the season.
I disagree. It was a great scheduling move because it exposed their weaknesses.
And I disagree. I will never say don't schedule a game I want to watch.
No. Yeah, hold on. Tennessee beats the hell out of you. They don't let you run through anything. So all you're learning is whether or not you can run off the ball or not. That's all you're learning. I disagree with you, Fanta. Tennessee, they just beat you up. Nobody wants to schedule Tennessee at the beginning. You see, they beat the brakes off everybody, and then they peter off because people figure it out.
Sir, you have to go stand out in the cold for 5 minutes outside the hotel property.
This is a great take. Tennessee, that you want to schedule high major competition in the beginning. Tennessee in particular, you don't want to schedule.
Okay. We said first off, we said this in the preseason. This is I'm wrong on a ton of crap, but I remember distinctly saying on this show that game is very difficult for them. Do not be surprised if they get their doors blown off and everyone's going to overreact. And you two didn't, but we all know who did. Okay. And right now they're in a different type of fight. But the fact of the matter is that I respect it. I don't endorse doing it. I mean, you could say that they learned nothing from getting smashed by Tennessee, but here's the deal. I'll remove Tennessee from this. If you do get smashed, okay, your ability to grow off that is a good thing. I would rather you challenge yourself and get better off of it than play a bunch of Q4s, because clearly Louisville playing some tougher teams has helped their team evolve from what they were earlier in the season. And you're seeing it, you're seeing it across the board in college basketball. Those who figured out a way to schedule early. Let me bring this up for a moment. Right now, Texas and Ohio State are both firmly on the bubble. Okay? They played each other in the first game of the season, on the first night of the season. Does anybody remember that game? If you asked a casual fan who won that game, they wouldn't even be able to tell you. Okay, Ohio State won the game. Last night, Texas beats Missouri, a ranked Missouri team. They had to have it at home. They got it. And Ohio State goes to Mackey and beats Purdue. And I'm like, what? But the point is, when you play early competition, you benefit in the long run. And so Pat Anthony says, according to Pat Kelsey, they did learn something. To me, when you get your ass kicked, you have one of two ways of looking at it. One, you can dwell in it, and you can sit around and just continue to be yourself. Or you could say, guys, let's clean this crap up. Clean it up right now. They showed us how far away we are. How far away we are with the picture.
Tia, you got anything else?
I like the debate. But it sounds like in the world of Reese Davis being the judge with Mark May and Lou Holtz, I am the winner on this one because Rob is the judge in that hat.
The only thing you're winning right now is microphone time. Jesus Christ, Fanta. The only thing you're winning is microphone time. That's what you're winning. I don't even have a point anymore. I don't want to talk Louisville. It's supposed to go 1, 2, 3, not 1, 2 back to 1.
Well,
I don't want to
what's that?
I'm not talking
about Louisville.
I'm done. I'm taking a break.
Hey, that's a perfect segue because you know what time it is, T.O.? If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code. You didn't know what I was doing. I was roaring, but it was the BetMGM commercial. It comes in with a roar, T.O. Comes in on fire. The big cats. BetMGM. BetMGM.
Oh, man.
All right. Here's what we're doing, Fanta. Here's what we're doing. Purdue was up by 16 late in the first half against Ohio State. Blows the lead. I think they were down by as many as 9 late in the second half. John Mobley hits a huge 3 late, but Purdue cannot find a way to beat an Ohio State team that was 2-5 in the Big Ten at home in their own building after coming back from the West Coast. So my question to you is, does this say more about Purdue, or does it say more about the fact that they had just spent a week in Washington and in Oregon and had to fly back across the country and play another game in 72 hours?
Well, maybe Terrence, he's right on that one because I think the travel there affects them. But you know what? I think it's a couple of things. One is it's really hard to just win 7, 8, 9, 10 in a row in your league. Like at some point you're going to blink. And they did. And I think that they took Ohio State lightly. They might say that they didn't, but you're up 41-28 at the half, guys. I don't know about you, but it's human nature. I'd be like, we got this in the bag. We got this in the bag. Now they look gassed in the second half. There's no question about that. And Micah Parrish had a tremendous performance. I mean, Micah Parrish went 6 for 8 from 3 in this win. He stepped up with a couple of huge shots that, frankly, he hasn't always made this season. So you have to tip your cap to him because he's had 41 points the last 2 games. Look, Purdue is not they would not be in my top 3 tiers. If you ask me for 4 tiers of championship caliber teams, Final Four type teams, they wouldn't be in my top 12. And they're ranked 11th right now in the country, but they're kind of a top 20 to 25 team. That part of their winning streak lately has been who, outside of the win at Oregon. And I don't know, T.O., we've talked about this with Oregon. Like, I don't
That's
know.
what I feel about Oregon.
Yeah, exactly. So they're so reliant on 2 or 3 guys, Purdue. And when one of those guys isn't on, they become susceptible to what happened. And in this game, I mean, as Braden Smith goes, they're going to go. And he didn't have a good game. He just didn't. He had an off game. He's a human. He's allowed to. But then when Braden Smith's not humming along, there's not enough there around him. And Ohio State's been seeking this type of a win. They have gone through some agonizing losses. So for them, they were the desperate team. This is the time of year where the desperate dog wins. If you are on that bubble and you have to have it, we saw it over the weekend with Creighton winning at UConn and Xavier winning at Marquette. The desperate team won this game, but Purdue is a good team that can be a second weekend team, but just not, to me, they're not deeper than that.
T.O.?
I don't know if you guys realize this. I just changed the name of our text group to the DF Pod. I'm good.
Go ahead.
All right, look. Here. This is how we'll get T.O. to start talking again. Ready?
I'm glad you guys are handling it because I got a game tonight. But I'm not sure I'm going to do a whole lot of talking tonight either because I'm working with Derek Clark. So I'm not sure how much talking I'm going to be able to do there either. So you guys go ahead. I got it. You guys got it.
Hannah, we'll get him going. Ready for this? Raise your hand if you correctly identified the best team in the Big Ten in the preseason conference. Was it Purdue?
No.
Yeah.
Why didn't you have Purdue at the top of the Big Ten?
I just worried about everything else. Zach E. gone. I thought the backcourt was not as athletic as some of the others. But here's the thing: Purdue's still really good. 7-2 in the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten's good this year. I've been a long time Big Ten hater. I think the league's good.
No,
I do. I think the league's good this year. I think Michigan State. I think Purdue is very good. They could win a game or 2 in the tournament, and they're probably going to hate me for saying that. Trey Kaufman-Wren's been awesome. He's averaging big numbers. The travel. It's the travel, guys. And I thought it would be – we picked games last Friday?
Mm-hmm.
I picked games with Goodman and Hansborough. And I thought the travel would get them at the Oregon game. It didn't get them at Oregon. It got them on the return trip. So – those things happen. Ohio State's got talent, guys. Like they do. They have talent. They've had some miscues here and there, but they've got talent, and they can beat you on a given night because that point guard matchup's pretty good. But Trey Kaufman-Wren was National Player of the Week, or Naismith National Player of the Week, was great. And then the travel is not it's not nothing, and it doesn't matter in football. They travel once a week. They don't miss school. In basketball, it's a real thing because you got to go for multiple game trips.
Yep. And you spend a lot of time over there and you actually get adjusted to your body clock over there. And then you got to come back. And if you're taking a red eye back, which is just, we've all been on red eyes, man. It sucks, right? It sucks. There's at least one day, sometimes 2 days where it just kind of ruins you. If you fly a red eye back on a Saturday night into Sunday, you sleep all day Sunday, and you got to try to figure
Don't change that name back, Fanta. Don't change that name back.
Okay.
Don't change it back.
Listen.
Well, can I just say for the record?
Talk about Louisville.
Can I just say for the record? Hold on. Can I just say for the record? T.O., what did you what was the original name of the chat that you changed it from? It was the TF podcast because you two kept ditching me for games in the CAA. I couldn't get an invite. You guys go down to Charleston, you hang out, you have dinner at Hall's. What am I doing? Sitting here.
Hall's is delicious. But you had Hall's when you came down to Greenville a couple of years ago.
Out of the refrigerator. I don't want to.
You had Hall's when you came down to Greenville when we put the game on for Furman.
Yeah, exactly. I like hanging out with you guys because we go have good dinners and I don't get invites anymore.
Who set that one up?
So a couple things. Number one, last year I counted 10 minutes on my phone clock.
You did.
And you two were riffing about some sort of ridiculous topic. And then I finally jumped in after a good 10 minutes. I could have gone to the bathroom, taken a dump, come back.
I seriously considered it a second ago. I was like, I really have to pee. I'm thinking about just walking out, turning my mic off.
We disagreed on something. We're allowed to disagree on something. So I wouldn't have played tennis. I wouldn't have played Tennessee either, but I think it's beneficial.
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right.
But the reconvening, like of they understood who they were at second. Like you saw Case and Pryor go down. Tennessee, I would have never done that. But Case and Pryor going down, and then they kind of found out who they were again. That's why Louisville's better. Like, and then I think Rain Smith benefiting off of Chucky Hepburn's been elite.
Yeah, they've been a lot of fun to watch. A lot of fun to watch. You know who else has been a lot of fun to watch?
Who's that?
Fanta. The St. John's Red Storm. When we come back, I'm going to ask these two who they think the best team in the Big East is in this day and age here, January 22nd, 2025. Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up. Fanta, as it stands, St. John's and Marquette are tied in first place in the Big East. Marquette has a higher net rating. St. John's is a team that is a better defensive team and kind of maybe out Marquette some of the things that they like to do best. RJ Lewis, is currently in the running for Big East Player of the Year, which is a crazy thing to say based off some of the expectations at the start of the season. Who, right now, in your mind, is the best team in the Big East Basketball Conference?
At this moment, it's St. John's. Big picture, St. John's has yet to play Connecticut. They've yet to play Marquette. And they still have to go back to Georgetown after that game was close. And I'm interested to see what happens next week when they do go there. And they have Xavier tonight. At this moment, it's St. John's. But when you look at St. John's schedule in February 4th, Marquette. February 7th, at UConn. February 12th, at Nova. February 16th, Creighton. Then at DePaul, then back home against UConn.
Mm-hmm.
So that schedule, their February is a gauntlet. So they're rolling right now. There's no question about it. They are a really special team. I mean, they take your manhood. They outwork you. This is a Rick Pitino team. Absolutely. No, they do. Down the stretch in these games, you watch, I'm watching opponents just run out of life, and they just wear
Nut cutting, Fanta.
Yeah, that's what they do. And Lewis is playing at such a high level. Zuby Ejiofor is the most improved player in the Big East and one of the most improved players in America. When Sim Wilcher or Aaron Scott give them any three-pointers, everything rolls for them. They have a big game tonight against a Xavier team that I talked with Shaka Smart yesterday, and Shaka basically told me, more or less, he thinks that Xavier is going to have a huge last month and change. He said they are.
I agree with that. Actually, 100%.
So I'm really interested to see what happens tonight. I just have this gut in my deep gut, and it's deep, that I think that Marquette is going to find a way to win the Big East regular season. But if you were asking me who's going to make the deepest run in the tournament in this league and who's going to win the Big East tournament, I would actually lean more towards St. John's on that. And I will say this is the last point I'll make. There is a team that's won 6 of 7, and they've already played a lot of road games. They've already played at Marquette and at UConn, and that's the Creighton Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sleep on Greg McDermott's team. 6-1 in their last 7, playing terrific basketball, and Jemiah Neal has figured it out.
You're trying to tell me that Creighton gets better as the season goes on?
Yeah, we talked about that last night. Yeah.
No, it's amazing, man. Greg McDermott's awesome. Your point about Zuby Ejiofor becoming a beast for Rick Pitino. Sometimes, when you transfer from one system to another, it takes some time. Look at all like the Montrezl Harrells of the world. Look at like who's been really good at the 5 spot for Rick Pitino. It's those junkyard dogs. And whenever you get that guy in there and they're playing a certain type of way and you have the guard creation that St. John's does, throw in the fact that defensively they're elite. Right now, I love Marquette, but I think St. John's is right there with it.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm going to be very interested to kind of see the way that they match up, because there's a lot of like strength on strength in those two matchups. And I kind of feel like St. John's has the better of Marquette in those areas, in the sense that what makes Marquette good is kind of the toughness, the physicality, what they do defensively. They make it hard for you to run offense. They force some turnovers. And I feel like if you kind of go down the list, St. John's has more size and more physicality and more length at all of those positions, right? They're just bigger everywhere. So it's going to be really interesting to see how those matchups kind of play out, and how, frankly, someone like a Cam Jones can handle what he's going to see from St. John's, because I don't think he handled a similar style of defense from Xavier all that well over the weekend on Saturday. So it's it'll be interesting to see how all that kind of plays out. You guys are right about Creighton. I think that they're a little bit more matchup dependent than those other two teams. I will just say this, though, and I feel like I'm going to get called a UConn homer for it, but depending on when Liam McNeely gets back, I still think that you have to have UConn in that conversation. Now, this is their next 5 games: at Xavier, home for DePaul; at Marquette, St. John's at home; at Creighton. I'd make the argument they have 3 of their 4 toughest road trips coming up here before Valentine's Day in the next 3 weeks. And I would argue that if you don't have Liam McNeely, St. John's is the worst possible team for them to play, because they only have one guy that can create shots and make things easier. But if Liam gets back, I don't know. I don't think he'll be back on Saturday. I think that they were targeting Paul when the injury kind of first happened. But I mean, though, that like this is the run. This is the 5-game stretch where if UConn's going to win the Big East regular season title, they have to win 2 of those 3 road games, in my opinion. I don't know if they can do it without Liam McNeely.
They need him back. They need him back.
How do you? Last thing, T.O., and then we'll wrap it up. How do you fix this defense? Can you fix this defense if you are UConn? If you're Dan Hurley, is it possible to do?
If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Dan Hurley. And truth be told, guys, I didn't get to see the game because I was traveling, and it's a long trip. I had to drive another hour and a half. If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Dan Hurley.
Yeah, I think individually, UConn does not have the defenders that they need to be able to play.
There's also, guys, Samson Johnson's good. Like, Terrence Reed's good. There's no Donovan Clingan down there. There's no Adama Sanogo down there.
Yeah.
That can fix things. Andre Jackson's not on the floor.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have the same
personnel thing. It's a personnel thing. Sometimes you just have to guard as a team. And hey, guys, like, UConn's still in the top 25.
Yeah.
Like, they're not a bad team. They're just not going to win the national championship. And that's okay. Like, how many teams? You can't rattle off that many.
Success.
Huh?
Victim of own success.
Exactly. UConn's still really good. They're top 10 team in offensive efficiency. They don't have the same kind of dudes that they've had defensively over the last couple of years. And that's okay. They're still a top 25 10. They can still win a game or two in the tournament, make the Sweet 16, just not going to win a national championship. But like, you have to be able to have those guys. You have to be a couple of things have to happen to win a national championship. Got to get a little bit lucky, and you have to be healthy. Mm-hmm. So, but luck kind of dissipates sometimes when you have a big man in the middle like Adama Sanogo, Andre Jackson, guys that can really cover a lot of space quickly. Or if not quickly, then they just take up a lot of space.
Well, I mean, and the other part of it is you have a shutdown defender in Steph Castle. You can put on anyone, turns the water off, right? You have big guys that can.
It's a personnel thing.
Climb on the perimeter and funnel you to Donovan Clean at the rim, and it's not going to matter because he's going to erase everything in and around the paint. You don't have that anymore. Your guards are smaller. Solo Ball's like 6'2", 185. Hassan Diarra is 6 foot on a good day. And the level of individual defender, like Jalen Stewart is not Steph Castle, respectfully. Yeah. Like there aren't a lot of people that are Steph Castle. Jalen Stewart's not one of them. Listen, T.O.'s got to go. He's itching to run because he's got to get to a Utah State shoot around. Who do they have tonight?
Nevada.
On
Kobe Sanders, FS1 tonight. Kobe Sanders, 6'9" point guard, the 4th tallest team in college basketball.
Nick Davidson is a delightful interview if you want to get involved in that, and you are going to absolutely. I'm sure you've already watched plenty of film on him.
Yeah,
but Max Falslev is
he's awesome. He's shooting great percentages. Hey, the funny thing about Falslev, look at his 3-point. No, you're not. No, I got it now, Fanta. I got it. Don't you worry your little heart. We're talking about. I got it. Mason Falslev. Here's an interesting stat. He's shooting like 50-something% from three. He's shooting 45% from three and like 52% from the free throw line. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. His splits are hilarious. Anyway, go ahead, Fanta. Sorry. I can't help but poke at you a little bit because I know it hurts your feelings.
Jay Adams just said, I hate it when mom and dad fight.
Who said that?
My last word came at 11:39:50. I've been timing it out. Y'all just been 5
It
minutes.
wasn't me talking. 11:39:50. It's 9:43.
Your clock's off.
No.
All right, guys. For the record, I would just like to say,
time for
I got to say this publicly again.
Where's the media? Where's the mediator?
Really enjoy each other. All three of us really do like each other, and I promise you we do. I promise you we do. I promise you we do. If I say it enough
We're not
times,
fighting.
I actually believe it.
Hey, this is what happens when you do a podcast together for 3 years. You love each other enough to where you can rib each other.
Exactly. All right, T.O., go to your shoot around. Fanta.
All right, see you guys.
Go get ready for After Dark. We will see you guys tonight, 11 p.m. After